3, 2, 1, let's go.
Oh, he's fast. And he has just this raw speed where it's not even like he's trying.
I believe we all have a purpose. I've always loved food. In some way, I was born to eat.
4, 3, 2, 1, let's eat!
Get ready for the new boss.
Welcome to the Kai Greene Effect.
Okay, what's good? What's good? What's good? It's your boy Kizzy K with the AKA. This is the Kai Greene Effect. If you're here at the sound of my voice, you're joined by me, yours truly, Vlad Uden, my family over at Generation Iron, and we are gonna bring it to you live and direct today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Vlad, how's it going, man? How you feel?
Good, man. I love the red room, man. That's very stylish, bro.
I mean, you know, Janet had the velvet rope, and your boy here is just trying to do something dope. That sounds like it rhymes a little bit at least.
Yeah, actually, well, you know, back in I forgot what year, but your signature color was red. Remember? That was like the people have brand associations. You know what I'm saying? And the red color was associated with Kai Greene at least when I met you.
I remember seeing Ronnie Coleman in an earlier advertisement in his career wearing red. He was wearing red shoes that I thought, man, this was it. You know, I felt inspired. I felt, you know, just encouraged to kind of do something a little bit bolder. I wanted to get those shoes like Ronnie Coleman. I wanted to, you know, like a lot of people, I wanted to, you know, associate with getting attention and doing things in a major way. I, like a lot of people, wanted to be just like Ronnie Coleman. You know, the Ronnie Coleman in me was inspired. Anyway, I started trying to wear red and stuff, and I was able to, you know, make that my posing suit color of choice. You know, and with a lot of the earlier filming opportunities that I had, at least back then, when I got the right to publishing and stuff, I tried to do the red thing, and then I signed a deal with a company called Muscle Meds. Yeah, Muscle Meds. Gerard Dente. They really helped me get myself on the map. And yeah, at that time we were very committed to the color red. That actually was the color choice for the supplement line.
Yes,
you know, black, red, and white. You know,
of course.
Shout out to Gerard Dente.
Shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. So, Kai, we got a lot of topics to go through, man. Let's get to that. And then we have the lightning round of questions. But let's get to some of these topics that are current. I need to get your opinion on this. So, speaking of competitions, right? You familiar with Andre Ferguson? I think you guys are part of the Dark Sport campaign together. Right? He's a men's physique competitor, of course,
Yes,
very successful. So
he also won this year at the Masters, Mr. Olympia.
There you go.
He represented hard. Yes, absolutely. He's a friend of mine. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
He's a friend of yours, and he's highly respected. But he's also very outspoken, right? So he said something very interesting that a lot of people agreed, a lot of people disagreed, right? So he's obviously men's physique, and there's always been this kind of back and forth between men's open competitors, you know, and heavyweights versus men's physique. A lot of people don't respect men's physique competitors for whatever reason. But he said something very interesting, right? He said, I'm going to read the quote here. He's basically saying that men's physique and bikini wellness divisions keep the lights on, meaning that in a pro league. He's saying the league wouldn't be here without men's physique or bikini divisions. When I jumped into bodybuilding, this is from him, it was a dying business, very strong words. Go to the shows, bodybuilding has 5 people in each class, men's physique, bikini wellness has about 30, 40 people in each class. So which one's paying the bills? It's not bodybuilding paying the bills. And some people actually agree with him, right? What are you? And you guys are friends, but like objectively speaking, what do you think about this?
Anyone that is competing in our sport, existing in our sport, with the ability to kind of have realized their success, not just in the men's physique, but in bikini or in the open, in my case, in open bodybuilding, the road that I know has been only, in open bodybuilding.
Sure.
So there's room to be biased. There's room to have my opinion totally colored by my experience as a inspired and aspiring open male pro bodybuilder. From the beginning to the stage, and even after, the biggest highlights of my career. But I'm also open-minded enough to say that I can see how other athletes that may never have any aspirations to see the power, the beauty, and the contribution of the larger sport. Open men's bodybuilding, is the thing that put this whole sporting experience on the map to begin with.
Sure. So people understand, right? There's, I think where I agree with him, right? Not that my opinion really matters, but what I agree with him really is when he's talking about participation standpoint, right? So the way the business operates, in case people don't understand, the way bodybuilding business operates is largely by competitors, right? So amateur league especially, right? When amateur competitors go to compete, that's how the shows basically exist, because promoters generate money from competitors participating, right? So from that standpoint, I think he's 100% correct. When you go to the shows, there's a lot more bikini and men's physique people competing. Therefore, that from that standpoint, it creates a bigger demand, right? More participants means more income for the federation. And of course, there's also another side of this whole story, which is the fans of the sport, right, who want to go and see the shows as an audience. And from that standpoint, men's open still generates probably the most interest because that's the peak of the sport, so to speak, right? But he's right when it comes to participation, right? I think that's where he's coming from, I think.
Well, I believe everyone is entitled to their opinion.
Okay, I got you. You just don't agree. I understand.
And well, no, it's not. It's not that I don't agree. I mean, I think there's a knee-jerk response, a knee-jerk reaction would be, hey, well, which do you support more? When you think fondly, close your eyes and imagine what are the fondest memories in the sport, and the growth of the industry. Um, Quietly, what are the images that you think about? And I think with that, your point of reference will always be the things that appeal to you, and if your experience is, it's one thing to say, hey, we're looking at, facts and numbers. I don't think everyone has the luxury to really investigate facts and numbers like that.
God, this is actually a perfect segue to what Kevin Levrone, like this is we're talking about the competitors, right? So this is actually a perfect segue to the pro cards, right? How many pro cards are given away each year? When you were competing, and even before your time, right? It was only like, what, from what I understand, it was like 3 pro cards a year that were given out, right? Something like that.
Yeah, there was very, very, very few. But with that said, you could very easily see the talent pool swell.
Right, exactly. So
And
now,
at any given year, in the classes like, the light heavyweight, the middleweight, and even the heavyweight class, you could have many guys competing the same year.
right.
Each of them were going to go on to become legends and big names in the sport. However, at this one particular, let's say, nationals or junior nationals event, there's only going to be one of them that can go, to the pro ranks, which would mean that, everyone else would have to come back the next year and possibly, await. It took Flex Wheeler 3 years, 3 tries at the Nationals before he was able to win his pro card. And then after that, he went on to become like one of the biggest, most successful new pros, in the industry to hit
Right.
the scene. He went on to win like every pro show he went into for the next 2 to 3 shows. He won the big shows like the Arnold Classics, and the back then there was a show called the Iron Man, and You
It
know,
was a big show.
yeah, I mean, like back to back, and then took second at the Olympia, which was, back then like only the top of the top,
Right,
could
right,
ever
right.
even dream to do something like that.
So speaking of that, Kyle, I wanna make a point with what Kevin Levrone said, because now there's obviously a lot more pro cards given out every single year because there's more divisions and there's a lot more shows, right? A lot more opportunities for and there's also international aspect to it as well. But so a lot of old school bodybuilders, they kind of complain about it, or they say like, well, it's not doesn't the pro card doesn't hold the same value, but some people are all for that because it grows the sport again, right? So this ties into the previous topic, but Kevin Levrone said something kind of unexpected because Kevin is obviously, he's from the 90s, right? But he said, according to him, he said, give out 1,000 pro cards. I don't care. That's good with me as a competitor. Who cares? I wouldn't care. Only one person can win the Olympia. The best is going to rise to the top. Give out 300, 400 pro cards. The cream is still going to rise to the top. What he's basically saying is make everybody a pro if you want to. There's still going to be the top of the top who are going to win the high caliber shows. What do you think about this? Agree, disagree?
I think, yeah, well, there's something to be said for identifying what it takes to be the best. There's work that has to be done. And even if we are talking about a political component or two that would need to be considered, everyone has the time and the opportunity, if they're willing, to do the work. So even a political favor of a door or two, that door can swing both ways. So it just means that there's work that has to be done not only on the stage but off the stage as well. And the race would be given not to the swift or to the strong, but to the person that wants it most, is going to be willing to endure. So, yeah, there's a part of me that doesn't see any wrong with Kevin Levrone's idea. I think when you hear an older pro talk about some of what their experience was, there's nostalgia. There's a fondness of what you know and what you're comfortable with, the familiarity of what has been. Sometimes, the newness of something new can be so different that it's unsettling. So yeah, you have the business model has had to change. The business model has changed.
Right.
Even Sylvester Stallone would say that if he had to do the Rocky film that originally, you know, gave him his big start into his
Yep.
explosive, presence on the Hollywood scene. If he had to do it today, Rocky One, he would have had to do it entirely differently to experience the success that we now take for granted today.
How about you? If you were to rewind back the time and you're an amateur bodybuilder trying to get a pro card, do you wish there was more opportunity back then, or do you enjoy the journey of how difficult it was to get it?
No, I think things were a lot different then. I think now you have a lot more distractions. There's a lot of would-be champions that will never, get a chance to even be desperate enough to experience what it will take in order to force themselves into the new idea of growth potential. There are people that would turn pro um, by the old standards um, only because of the difficulty. That now, without that difficulty, it's just too much easier now to turn around and just realize, well, if I have to do my own social media and I have to build a brand, and if I have to turn around and become successful as a social media influencer, while developing my career, as an athlete, in which case, as an athlete, I would just have to focus on training, staying on top of doing all the things that allow you to really tap into, you know, putting your mind and concentration on the task of doing that. Now, you got a lot of people that are still trying to be social media influencers that have to really subscribe to the thinking that is required to do that. Oh, wait, before I do my set, before I concentrate, let me set up my tripod and let me set up my camera. I got to get that right angle. Hold on. What's the hashtag that I need? Let me set that up. And okay, now I'm ready to focus on trying to do my set and I look like I'm ready to train. Whether you are the best or the worst, there's room for you to at least be able to, try your hand at, navigating, developing your social media platform. Anyone can do that. You know what I mean? And if you
Right.
really give it the honest effort with, I think just basic, reasonable common sense and intelligence, you can very, very easily, create a platform for yourself that will give you the opportunity to work and to earn a living. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to earn a living, doing at least that. But now the idea of being able to develop yourself to become one of the elite and the best in the business at developing a way of doing your craft, I think everyone is not going to be willing to do the sacrifice that is necessary to develop your way of doing that, and that is naturally is the screening process, which is why, if there are 30 people getting ready for a competition, why you always have the top two, that are able to stand head and shoulders above the guy that comes in 30th. You know what I mean? It's not, and I don't believe that's because of genetics. I think a lot of times that is the product of work and honing that
Right.
sometimes can take years and decades to develop. You know?
Speaking of work, another thing, interesting thing that happened. Tom Platz, old school, but his name is I think the nickname was the Quad Father. Maybe they called him, right. He's known for his quads. He said something very interesting that I'm quoting here. He said, modern day, he's known for the squatting techniques, right? He said, modern day squatting technique has been bastardized. He's basically saying that the people are not using the squats anymore to build quads. He said they're using more of the hamstrings and the glutes or whatever. But what do you think about that? And I wanted to ask you, one of the episodes you revealed the most you've ever benched. What's the most you've ever squatted? How much weight was your heaviest you ever squatted?
I was a very heavy squatter, as a preteen. I'm all that as a young teenager. I think as a teenager, I probably squatted more than I think I ever got a chance to see myself do as an adult man. At the top of my game,
Six
in the
hundred
sport.
pounds.
Huh?
600 pounds.
No, 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 no. Uh, low eights, low to mid eights.
800
Um,
pounds. Wow.
yeah, but I was able to experience stuff like that when I was still like 16, 17. I
Wow.
think as a result, I really think there's a strong argument to be made for, uh I think technically I was probably meant to be 6'1", maybe 6 feet. But
But
I'm
because of squatting,
5'8".
because
I'm
of
five
squat.
eight. But if you measured me from fingertip to fingertip of cross,
Oh,
you
right, right, right.
know, and by some of the standards of what we know scientifically, I would imagine I was actually supposed to be a little taller than I actually
So
did
you saying
result.
you
But with
saying
saying
you
that,
saying you've
very
slowed
heavy
down your
squatter.
growth? You saying you've slowed down your growth because of squatting 800 pounds?
I think there's an argument
Wow.
that could be made for, doing some of those things, to the extreme and intensity that I experienced earlier in my career, um, as an athlete. But with also with saying that, I mean, here's the thing. First, you can't take any credit away from Tom Platz, because did we ever get a chance to see, a person that was so passionate, so devoted, and because of the far-reaching, extension of what he was able to do with pushing himself, he ended up writing it down and then creating a blueprint that gave the world an opportunity to get some insight into, what leg training could be. And as a result, because of Tom Platz, the whole bodybuilding experience and the world at large was just able to experience a new vision, as what leg development could be. Tom Platz, in his day, guys didn't train their glutes. You know what I mean? And with that, the standards of what glute training or what hamstring, what good leg development looked like or needed to look like was very different than it is now. You now have multiple categories with even more stiff and strict demands on how developed body parts need to be.
Right.
And sometimes the extreme development of what is now the common standard of a wellness athlete or even a women's physique, glute and hamstring development, the standards of what kind of glute and hamstring development you needed, 30 years ago to be a open pro level bodybuilder
You know, it's funny though.
is beneath what the standards would be now for glute development
Right.
in a women's physique competition or
That's
wellness.
that's true. You know, it's funny though. Speaking of development of glutes and legs, I interviewed Frank Zane a few months back. Obviously a legend, But
Absolutely.
I asked Frank, "What do you think about Tom Platz?" And he was like, "Well, it's just all legs, He basically said everything else was underdeveloped in comparison to legs. I thought it was funny, and people in the comments were divided over that statement because people like Tom Platz, but Frank Zane is, he doesn't hold back. He just says it. He just kind of gives quick answers, and that's what he thinks. That's what he thinks, But I agree with you. Tom Platz is a legend for sure.
No, not a legend, not a legend. It's an understatement. Until Tom Platz, you really did not know what proportions could be considered when thinking about balance and shape.
Wow.
You didn't even know hamstrings could be developed.
Kai, I never realized you're such a big Tom Platz fan. That's wow.
Well, I mean, honestly, real talk. I want to answer this because first,
No, I got you.
you can't just blast him down and be like, oh well, dismiss him.
No,
as,
not
as-
me. That was Tom. That was
like
Frank
Frank Zane. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Frank Zane, but to just say Tom, to just dismiss Tom Platz as well, just all legs and that's it. Dude, come on. That's like a modern day fan and enthusiast of bodybuilding. That's a new fan of the sport coming into this game now, and they're a fan of Will Bonac, and they're a fan of Andrew Jack. And if you looked at Andrew Jack's physique, or looked at Samson Dauda and go, oh my God. And then it's like, hey, but what about this guy, Frank Zane? And they turn around and look at Frank Zane. What? Black and white photos up.
Kai, I think
It's like, wait a minute.
I think Frank. All right, let's. Kai, we have 3 minutes left. We have three.
I got you.
We have 3 minutes left. Tom Platz is a legend. We got the point. So we have 3 minutes left. We have 3 questions. So 1 minute per question. All right, cool. Can you do it?
Let's do it.
All right. First question is from Philly Punch. Kai.
Wow, it sounded like you said Phil Heath for a second, man. I was like, whoa.
Oh no, I wish. Maybe it's under what do you call it, like the burner account? I don't know. But anyway, Kai, it's great. It's great to see you finally openly talk about different controversial subjects. Love your pod. Wanted to ask you, have you ever known any professional bodybuilders that use Synthol Oil to enhance their muscle shape and size? Could you tell by looking at them if they didn't tell you? So have you ever known anybody to use Synthol Oil to make the muscles bigger, and can you tell by looking at the muscle?
Yeah, I remember there's a number of athletes that were very candid in their we didn't have podcasts back then, but you had there've been a number of athletes that have been.
Was it Tom Platz by any chance?
Say that again.
Was it Tom Platz by any chance?
Nah.
Just making sure. Maybe Frank Zane.
Not that I know of. Nah, I've never heard him say that. But there've been people that have been very candid about that. Have I known anyone personally that behind the scenes, in your think tank, your personal, your arsenal of you're trying to get ready and thinking about answering questions and even helping you develop on your own personal journey and answering some of these candid questions behind the scenes very honestly about, making choices in your career and how to implement, certain strategies that would include something like that if you chose to do that. I've never known anyone that I talked to very candidly behind the scenes about that. In fact, I've never used that in my life.
Gotcha. All right. Next question. 1 minute. Everybody knows the rules. All right.
Let's
All right.
do it.
Next one is from Magnificent J09098.
Magnificent J09.
All right.
Shout out to you.
Kai, you said on one of the episodes that you were able to gain 40 pounds after eating just a couple of meals after doing a show.
Yeah.
What's the most weight you've lost in one day?
Oh man. Damn. Honestly, 30 pounds.
You lost 30 pounds in one day?
30 pounds in a few hours, I think.
How? How did you do that?
Yeah, I did.
You fasted?
I don't, man, yeah, I'm going to be responsible. Let me attempt to be responsible and still say something. So listen, I'm going to say it in this way. And if you know better, then you know. And if you don't, put it on your shelf. You're going to have to hell of an explaining to.
No, but I'm
have
curious.
someone
Is
do
30 pounds of like water weight? Or what? How did you
Well,
do
so
it?
yeah, so I did something called sodium loading in my process of getting ready for one of the the bigger competitions of my career. And the process, I kind of walked through this process a few times, and this one time in particular was really, really, really tough and interesting. I flew out to Columbus, and we were there ready to do the business. But before I got there, I did this sodium loading thing that man, it was just really, really, really interesting to do this because you have to work on faith and math. And, I really felt it as just a crapshoot almost. But part of that process meant that, at least the way we did it at that time, there was a lot of transformation that your body was actually going to go through when you cut water and did your water manipulation the way that we kind of cycled it to be done. And yeah, the way you looked before you went to bed was not the way you looked when you got up in the morning.
Were you sweating a lot?
No. Just dispelling water. You dispel it, through exhalation, urination, and
Wow.
yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Is that dangerous to lose that many pounds in one day?
Is it healthy and safe? I'll plead the fifth on that.
Gotcha. All right. That was good. Wow. So you gained 40 pounds in one day and lost it. Oh, that's incredible. All right.
No, not gained it in one day.
You lost it. Yeah, I got it.
It was a process. Yeah, but it was a process of peaking that I would never want to do again.
All right, last question. 1 minute. Everybody knows the rules. All right. So this is Italian Stallion of Memphis 6.
Italian Stallion of Memphis. There you go. Shout out to you. Let's get it.
All right. The last question. Kai, what do you typically eat for breakfast? Is it always the same thing every day? Please give us a full breakdown, including calorie count. Thanks, brother.
Wow. Well, right now I'm not counting calories, so good luck on that. But yeah, it depends, man, because if I'm traveling and I'm just trying to do the business like I'm doing it, chances are it's nothing very eventful with that. If you want to know a picture of what it may have looked like in the throes of my career when I was like in the trenches of really working to see, the best of what I could bring to the stage, I think it varied, but not very far from, as soon as I rose, taking a certain amount of branch chain aminos, 12 egg whites, getting to the gym and getting an aerobic pathway, for 45 minutes, and then following that up with my first meal. And that first meal could...
Oh, so the 12 egg whites was not the meal? That was just
12 egg whites was that how you call tithes and offering. You go to the church and they're like, hey, give me tithe and offering. This is offering. We just give it to the Lord. It's like, you say you want to be a top athlete. You say you got to start your day like that. We start our day with getting up, giving thanks, taking them branch chain aminos, getting your ass on that step mill, after having 12 egg whites.
And then what's the first meal after that? What was the first meal after that you said? I
First
interrupted
meal
you.
after that could vary. It could have been tilapia. It could have been, there was so a time in my life, I was very big on high protein meals. School of thought would have said, hey, 1 pound of, 1 pound, I'm sorry. Yeah. Um, what was it? It was
1 gram
one
of
gram of
protein
protein,
per.
1 gram of
Yeah, yeah.
protein for every pound of body weight.
I heard about
And
that. Yeah.
at some point, you know, um, especially when I was natural, the idea would have been, oh man, we're gonna do 3 grams of protein for
Oh
every,
my
you
God.
know. And with
Wow.
that, when you did the breakdown, it was like, okay, well, yeah, so I'm gonna get a minimum of, you know,
So like
30
over.
grams of protein each meal.
So you ate over 1,000 grams of protein per day, basically, right? If you weighted like two something times
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, there was a
Wow.
time when protein requirements for me was like very, very high. It was very interesting too, because you had all kinds of opportunities in your process, um, all of which allowed me to understand this as my truth. What people want to say is genetics. It's not. It's so much more than genetic. Your success is so much more than genetics. You have to be willing to do this work, and the work that you're doing requires you to kind of try things and figure it out. Not until you do it, will you ever discover and know for yourself, you know, how you needed to answer the question that you were asked. How do I become, the successful athlete that's able to put on muscle, not by the standards of what other people say. Hey, you can only synthesize, you can only synthesize it's what is it, 20 grams of protein per, every 2.5 hours, some nonsense like that. I don't want to say nonsense, but I feel like there were times in my life and career where you really had to be willing to think outside of the box and try things that really allowed you to, kind of just have to conduct your own experiments and take notes and, really avail yourself to, come up with quality answers that made sense to you. And they represented the best of what you were able to do with the information that you had at the time and experience. So anyway, I'm saying this to say that if it were just genetics, I never would have been able to see myself grow to this proportion or that proportion. There's a time when you're 290 pounds with cross-striated glutes, and your training experience in the gym would say that you have 6 45-pound plates on each side on the incline, and there's no camera there. There's no friend to even turn around and stroke your ego about that, and you grab the bar and you move the bar, and every stress, every shortcoming, every part of your unresolved emotional madness that somehow is the portrait of you that you would sooner want to hide or run away from is now this wonderful catalyst, that becomes like this launching pad that will blast you off into this rageful bang, 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 bang. This bar moves, and there's this throttling roar of the 45-pound plates clanging together, as if they're going to sing a song. And you put the weight back on the rack after you've done 10 reps, and you stop, pause, look in the mirror, and go, oh shit, should I go up? Um,
Yeah. Wow. All right, Kyle. On this note, we're out of time, unfortunately.
yes,
I
yes.
wish we can go for another hour, but next time. Next time.
Hey, I appreciate the opportunity, Vlad. Yo, we've done a lot of growing over the years, brother. We've done a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Lot.
sir.
Very thankful, man. This is good news.
Absolutely, man. All right, so we'll see everybody next week.
All right, y'all. It's your boy, K with the AKA, Mr. Getting It Done. You know what it is. This has been the Kai Greene Effect. My man, Vlad Uden, the Generation Iron family. We want to say thank you for tuning in. Tune in next time. Let's keep it positive. Let's keep encouraging each other. Until then, peace.
Peace.